In this part, what I'm going to do is I'll be analyzing the birth chart of the United States of America first of all, and then superimpose the transit planets, both fast and slow transit planets, as of 3rd November 2020, 9 p.m. New York time, place being Washington DC. I will superimpose those fast and slow transit planets on the natal chart of the United States and then analyze the possible outcomes. What could happen as of 9 p.m. on 3rd November 2020. Please note this is just an analysis of the election outcome. That's all. In the second part, which I'm going to do it somewhere in June of this is April 20th today. So somewhere I will do some in June or July, possibly in July. I will in that second part what I'm going to do is I'll be knowing for sure who is the presidential candidate in both the parties and who are the vice presidential candidates in both the parties. Once I know that, I will try to superimpose the presidential candidate charts on the natal chart first, analyze how the country, if they become the president, what would be the impact, how would the country be for the next 4 years, and then I would analyze the transit planets on the birth chart of the presidential candidates and see will there be a chance for that person to be the president, to win the presidential election in November. This analysis of part 2 I will be doing it somewhere in June or July, but for sure I will put it in YouTube by 15th of July. Welcome to Shastri Kara's astrological series. In this presentation I'm going to talk about the US presidential elections that's going to happen on first Tuesday in the month of November 2020, which is 3rd November 2020. The elections will start somewhere around 7 a.m. Local time, and it will go all the way till 7 p.m. local time, which is 10 p.m. If it is 7 p.m. in California, then it's almost equal to 10 p.m. in New York City. So I took the 9 p.m. as the time because by 9 p.m. most of the states will declare who won the presidential election. So I took the 9 p.m. as the time when most of the results will be declared, and in this presentation I'm going to take the birth chart of the United States, superimpose the transit planets at 9 p.m. Washington DC on 3rd November, and then try to do the analysis and try to explain how these transit planets are impacting the natal chart. And based on the Vimsottari Dasa, we know that Vimsottari Dasa for United States is Rahu Mahadasa and Jupiter Antardasa. So how these transit planets are impacting the presidential elections and who could be the possible, I re-emphasize one more time, who could be the possible presidential candidate who is going to win on that day. These predictions are all based on my astrological knowledge to the best I can. I did the analysis, and using the best logical methods that I am aware of, I'm presenting this presentation. Please use this for educational purposes only, and I'm not responsible for any of the outcomes. If anyone has taken any decisions or expressed their opinions based on this video, I do not owe the responsibility. Enjoy the video. Thank you. Okay, now let's start looking at the birth chart of the United States. If you look at the birth chart, the Lagnadipati is Mars, and the Lagnadipati, we start from Lagnadipati. Mars is in the 8th house from Rashi Lagna. That's the first thing. Is the 6th house Lagnadipati and the 6th house Lord. Mars is residing in the 8th house. So whenever Mars is getting a natal Mars, whenever the transit, any malefic transit planet is having a direct aspect on the natal Mars, the first thing that happens for the country is there's some issue internally because it is the Lagnadipati, and then it is the sixth house lord residing in the eighth house. So public, there will be some sort of a challenges in public health, diseases resulting into major large scale losses and deaths. So this is the Lagnadipati. That's how the Lagnadipati is going to behave whenever there is any malefic transit planet is either co-joining with the Lagnadipati or having a direct aspect on the Lagnadipati. Any of these malefic transit planets, if they are not having it, that like Saturn having the third aspect, or Jupiter having the fifth aspect, or Saturn the 10th aspect, or the Jupiter the ninth aspect, since it is not a direct aspect, the impact will be very, is like reduced by 50% or less than 50%. So you will not see it as a, it's just like a routine, something happening for a few days and then it will go away. So we got through the Lagnadipati. The next thing that what we need to see is the most important is the second house. For a country, the second house deals with the revenue, stock exchange, banking sector. So we need to see what is the second house. Who is the second house lord? Is Jupiter. Since the second house lord is Jupiter, the country, that's the reason why the country is moving so forward when it comes to science and technology, is because Jupiter is directly related to academics, research and education. Guru in the sense the teacher. So the country is moving forward, getting all the revenue for the country. Is most of the revenue that the country is getting is through education, academics and research. So these are the three sectors that is creating the revenue for the country. And then comes the most, the third house is Saturn, owns Saturns, which talks about the transportation. And the transportation, the country is extremely dependent. Since it is Saturn, you have to say that any coal industry or automobiles, it runs under the mechanical side of it. So that's the reason that Saturn is there. That's fine. The fourth house is also Saturn owns it, and that's where moon is there. And then the fifth and sixth house, we don't need to worry. Seventh house is Rahu, is residing in the it's not Rahu. Seventh house is also empty. Eighth house is very important for this country. Eighth house deals with the state treasury. In state treasury, what you can see is Jupiter, the second house lord, the revenue, the planet that is responsible for getting the revenue through education, research and academics, is residing in the eighth house. And the eighth house is nothing but the state treasury. So the revenue, what it gets it, and the treasury, what the state is going to have it, is primarily because of these three sectors. And then you have Sun, who is the 10th house lord. It is nothing but the king of the country, or the president of the country, is responsible for increase in the state treasury. And then you have the Venus, the 7th house lord, and the 12th house lord. Venus is there. And then by default, Venus, Sun, Jupiter and Mars are all in the 8th house. Then comes the 9th house. This is very important here. In 9th house, what you see is, generally speaking, 9th house is Dharmasthanamo, or the law of the country, the courts in the courts in the country, and the businesses through I told you that second house deals with trading, but the 9th house is businesses through shipping industry, or through, right now we have the aeroplanes also does the business, where you have the cargo planes where that goods travel from one country to another country. So the businesses that is through this type of transportation, ships or big transportations like the big ships or the big cargo planes, is all dealt through the 9th house. In this 9th house, you have Mercury. Mercury is the 8th house lord. And remember, 8th house deals with state treasury. So since the state treasury is owned, the house is owned by Mercury, and Mercury is in the 9th house, that represents businesses through cargo planes or cargo ships or anything like that. Any businesses, the country's revenue treasury is primarily dependent on these two things. Cargo, big businesses using cargo ships or cargo planes, That's the first thing. That's why the treasury, the most of the country's treasury or the revenue the country gets it are only through two major parts. One is education, academics or research. Based on those from those three, whatever they get the money using those three as their primary core money maker. And then comes the transportation, the cargo planes and cargo ships. Then comes in the ninth house. The other thing you have to see is in the ninth house is law, how the law is implemented in the country, and the courts, how the courts interpret the law and gives their judgments. So in that point you have Rahu is residing there. Generally Rahu is so dynamic, and the uncertainty is for sure most of the time when it comes to law or the court judgments, and of course the transportation through cargo planes and cargo ships. This is the general country situation. And then in the 10th house, sun is the lord, and fortunately 10th house is empty. The 11th house you have Saturn. The 3rd and 4th house lord Saturn is residing. Fortunately the 12th house lord Venus, the 12th house is empty. So basically for this particular, for United States, the core revenue is through Jupiter and Mercury, and the core, the way the country rules is dependent upon Rahu, because Rahu is in the law and the courts, means how the laws are being written or how the courts interpret the laws is depends upon Rahu. That's the reason sometimes you see some of the laws are so unique and it's not generally accepted by most part of more people in the country, but still they have to follow it at the same way as the court decisions. And now let's look at the Vimsottari Dasa. Don't look at the transit planets, even though on the screen you see the transit planets and their aspects. Ignore it for time being. Then comes the Vimsottari Dasa. In Vimsottari Dasa for the United States, this is the third cycle of Vimsottari Dasa running for the country. The third cycle starts, usually the Vimsottari Dasa for the third cycle started with Mars in 2009, July 6th 2009, and you can see from 2009 till 2016 how the country, how all the challenges that the president had, the country had, the people had, and so many things that went wrong, or whether good or bad. What is went wrong may be wrong for me, but might be good for somebody else. So whatever things that had happened, the laws that has been passed, the court judgments that had been done, the goods that has been transported, the impact of the goods being transported to cargo ships and cargo planes, and above all sun, the leader. So since sun is co-joined with the Mars during the Mars Mahadasa, you had seen a lot of things that had not happened before in the history that remained previous to Vimsottari Dasas. You had seen in the third Vimsottari Dasa with Mars. And then came the Rahu. Rahu Mahadasa started in 2016 July, and as soon as the Rahu Mahadasa started in July, we had the September, in November we had the first 2016 elections, where someone who is completely new to the someone who never a person got elected whom very few people had anticipated his success. See, I told you Rahu creates uncertainty, and what you cannot expect, Rahu will make it happen. And now the whole Rahu Mahadasa is for 18 years. So for this whole 18 years in the country, whatever happens is something that, generally speaking, people don't imagine that type of things to happen, or people think that how can these things happen. So these are the type of events that are going to happen in these 18 years starting 2016 July 6th. Now comes the Antardasa. Rahu Mahadasa and Jupiter Antardasa started somewhere in April 2019, and till December 2019 everything was perfect. There were some ups and downs in April. I think if I remember correctly, in April, May, June of 2019 somewhere, then we had the presidential impeachment process going on. It went all the way till August or September of 2019. Once that got subdued and that impeachment process got resolved. Then the coronavirus started in December, and this is January 2020. It is in January 2020 it started, and now it is April 2020 and it is still going on. If you look at the Jupiter Rahu and Jupiter Antardasa, it goes all the way till September 2021. That means September 2021. Remember, that means during this Rahu Mahadasa and Jupiter Antardasa, the presidential elections is going to happen in November 2020. We have already seen with Rahu Mahadasa how things changed since 2016. So many unexpected things happened since 2016, July 6th, 2016, and with that was Rahu Mahadasa and Rahu Antardasa. And then when Rahu Mahadasa and Jupiter Antardasa came in April 2019, those who have monitoring the United States news, politics, or the country's economic situation, or the trade issues, the international disputes, the United States government's relationship with the foreign countries, foreign diplomats or foreign countries, all these things, those who are watching it or monitoring it will clearly understand what I'm trying to tell here, which is a lot of things that the people or the experts or the pundits, political pundits or the economic pundits or the government diplomats, those are all who never thought that will happen, had happened, and it has been came to light. Rahu not only makes the things that you never expect to happen it, but it also brings to light to the general public, showing that this is what you guys never expected me to do it, I did it. And Rahu proves that he did it, the stuff that nobody expects it to happen, or nobody expects that a person will do it. Rahu will make it happen and do it. That's exactly what you're showing. And during this Rahu period, you have seen how the laws have been, peculiar laws have been implemented in the country, how the courts had given a judgments that was surprised, or that a lot of people were not happy with. So these are all the things that are happened in Rahu Mahadasa and Rahu Antardasa, which has been continued in Rahu Mahadasa and Jupiter Antardasa. And impeachment is one of them, where the presidential being impeachment and the way the things had gone it, and then came the coronavirus. So basically, when you look at the chart of the country, Rahu Mahadasa and Jupiter Antardasa is the time when the presidential elections is going to happen. And so what the result is going to be is something that 99.9% of the time the people or the pundits have never expected it. So let's wait and see how that. We know that from a 10,000 feet altitude, what I can say is that the presidential election results is something that the pundits had never expected it to happen. The results will be the result. And now we will go more in detail when we go into the transit analysis, especially on November 3rd, 2020 at 9 p.m. East New York time. Where are these transit planets? I'm taking both the slow moving transit planets and the fast moving transit planets, because I'm sure by 9 p.m. New York time on that day, the presidential election, somebody will be their chances being very high for one person to become the next president of the country. So let's go and do more detail about this transit analysis and see who else what else can happen during that period. On 3rd November 2020, let's go and look at, first of all, we'll talk about the transit planets, slow moving transit planets. You can see in the birth chart, I did pick up the transit planets had either a circle or a square, and you can see that's what I'm going to. First, let me tell you which transit planet is where on that day. That is 3rd November. We'll start with Jupiter. Jupiter is in Sagittarius in its own house. keep in mind, Jupiter is in Sagittarius in its own house, Saturn is in Capricorn in its own house, Rahu and natal moon are co-joined in Taurus. Okay, Venus is in um, Virgo, co-joined with natal Saturn. Sun and Mercury are in Libra. Remember, Sun being in Libra means Sun got Nicha or debiliated. Every time in November, Sun gets debiliated. So, for every election, during the on the election day, Sun by default will be debiliated. So there's nothing great to talk about for this time when compared to Sun. So now let's go and look at the aspects of these planets. Jupiter. We'll start with Jupiter. Jupiter's 2, 3, 4, 5. Jupiter's fifth aspect. Fifth aspect is on Mesha, Aries, owned by Mars. Jupiter's direct aspect is in the 8th house from Rashi Lagna. Okay. Oh, we have to talk because it is a transit planet. I better start talking with the natal moon. Jupiter's fifth aspect is on the 3rd house from natal moon. 3rd house deals with transportation. Jupiter's direct aspect is on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th house from natal moon. 5th house talks with education, sports and film industry. And Jupiter's 9th aspect is on the 7th house from natal moon. 7th house talks with foreign relations, international disputes, and 7th house lord is Sun, the king, the president. So Jupiter is looking, direct aspect is on the 5th house where you have the Mars, the 3rd house lord Mars is residing, the 7th house lord Sun is residing, and the natal Jupiter itself is residing, and of course the 4th house lord Venus is residing there. 4th and 10th house lord, 12, 11, 4th and 9th house lord, 4th and 9th house lord Venus is residing there. So when transit Jupiter is in Sagittarius, at the time of election, transit Jupiter will be in Sagittarius. It will be in Sagittarius until 20th November, and the election is on 3rd November. So when transit Jupiter is in Sagittarius, its 5th aspect is on the house owned by Mars, its 9th aspect is on the house owned by Sun, and its direct aspect is on the house where Mars and Sun are residing, along with natal Jupiter and natal Venus. So this is a very important thing that we have to keep in mind when what will be the impact of the Jupiter. The reason why I said we have to, and by the by, at that time, oh yeah, Rahu will come over here. So the Jupiter Antardasa is running under Rahu Mahadasa. So Jupiter will have an impact on the 3rd house, the 7th house, the 9th house, and the most important thing here is the 7th house lord is Sun, the president of the country. The 9th house lord is Venus. Okay, and Jupiter is also having direct aspect on its natal position. So natal Jupiter and transit Jupiter are looking at each other, and it is the Jupiter Antardasa. So that the impact whatever Jupiter is going to show is got now amplified twice, and you have Mars, Sun, and Mercury, Venus. That's how Jupiter is going to behave. We'll talk about it, what is the impact later. Then comes the Saturn. Saturn's 3rd aspect. 3rd aspect is on the 2nd house from natal moon. Remember, Saturn is in the 12th house from natal moon. First of all, transit Saturn is in the 12th house from natal moon. That means the country's Sade Sheni started in December 2019, and as soon as the Sade Sheni started, the coronavirus hit indirectly, and it's going on. So the Sade Sheni started in January. We'll take it as January 2020 for best easy calculations. So it started in January 2020, and it lasts for 7.5 years. That is, it will remain until June 2027. 7.5 years. And in case if the Saturn has been retrograded, forwarded, because it does it, you can take it all the way. So this Sade Sheni for the country started in January 2020, and I would say it will go all the way till January 2028. I will take the whole 8 years on a positive, to be on a conservative side, proactively 6 months extra added. And Saturn's third aspect is on the second house from natal moon. So that means second house is revenue for the country. Saturn is in its own house, being a natural malefic, and since and the natal Saturn is in the eighth house from moon, being another bad house when come from natal moon, second, sixth, seventh, eighth, 12th. These are all the Daddasthanamulu or bad houses in English, simple English. So natal Saturn is already in the 8th house, where the 8th house deals with state treasury, debts and large scale losses. Now transit Saturn is in the 12th house. 12th house deals with prisons and hospitals, and its third aspect is also on the second house, which is revenue and stock exchange and banking sector. Next, Saturn's direct aspect. Saturn's direct aspect is on the sixth house from natal moon. Sixth house is the place, is Rogasthanamo, and the owner of the sixth house is again moon. Moon means motherland. Here, for the when it comes to the country, moon means the motherland. So it means itself. So you can take it as itself also. Thanusthanamo. Since we are checking the Chandra from Chandra Lagna, we can say it as the La Thanusthana Adhipati or self. So in the sixth house, you have the most unpredictable planet Rahu, whose Mahadasa is running. So the whole Mahadasa running, Rahu Mahadasa running completely, it will be sixth house not only deals with diseases and health, it also sometimes deals with the debts. The countries like personal debts for the people. The country also has some debts. So where the debt in the sense is that your imports is more than your exports, so you're not making enough money. The country is not making enough money through the import and export business, and there is no enough revenue being generated internally. So then the country enters into a debt position, DEBT, debt. Okay, so Rahu, the sixth house is, since Rahu is there in the debt position, in the house owned that deals with debts, apart from diseases and public health, there will be so much of uncertainty during the whole Rahu Mahadasa, which started in 2016, July 4th, 6th, 2016, and will last for 18 years. Remember, this Rahu Mahadasa is for 18 years, and you have the Elnati Sani for 8 years. So out of 18 years, the first 8 years will be very, very crucial for the country because of this Rahu Mahadasa and Saturn's Elnati Sani. Unfortunately, when Saturn goes and touches the moon, it will be a little bit complicated too, which I'll talk it when Saturn goes over there after 2.5 years. And then in the sixth house, you have the eighth house lord, the fifth house lord Mercury, fifth, sixth, and the eighth house lord is also Mercury. Yeah. In sixth house, you have the eighth house lord Mercury. Already Rahu is residing in the house that has debts as one of its character, and the debts being uncertainty. Since it co-joined with the 8th house lord, and 8th house deals with the state treasury, again this Rahu became more it's like a catalyst for Mercury. Rahu became a catalyst for the Mercury, so that state treasuries become so uncertain that the debts becomes easily viable. People can clearly see that the country is going to be on debts for a longer period, and then comes Saturn's 10th aspect. After the direct aspect, we go to the 10th aspect. The 10th aspect is on Libra. Okay, so generally speaking, in Libra there is no planets are there, it's empty, and the Libra lord is always what you call the Venus, and we don't need to worry about Venus here. But okay, we'll talk about that. And then comes, what's the other planet that we need to take is the third malefic. Next malefic planet is transit Rahu. Transit Rahu enters the fourth house somewhere in September 2020. So when during the election period in the month of November, when elections are going on, transit Rahu is in the fourth house. Remember, fourth house deals with agriculture and weather. Now natal Rahu is in the sixth house, that deals with diseases and public health, Transit Rahu is in the fourth house that deals with weather and agriculture. So just like the sixth house becomes so uncertain, the transit Rahu also creates minimal uncertainty when it comes to weather and agriculture. This is starting September 2020. So these are the three slow moving planets that I want to emphasize on in general at the time in the month of November. After September, in the month of November, before the general election starts. What I'm going to do is that I will continue with the fast moving planets exclusively on 3rd November and tell you how they are going to impact with this after the slow moving planets impact. Let's go and now let's start analyzing the fast moving planets impact on the fast moving planets. On 3rd November, the 3-4 fast moving planets that picked up exclusively is Venus, Sun, Mercury, and Moon. That's all. I didn't consider Mars at all here because we don't need to worry about Mars. Mars has nothing to do here. Even though Mars is the 10th house lord, I will talk about that. Why I didn't care about Mars. So first and the foremost is where is natal moon? On 3rd November, natal moon is in 4th house from natal moon. Sorry, transit moon is in 4th house from natal moon, co-joined with transit Rahu. So in the 4th house, transit Rahu and transit moon are co-joined. That's the first thing. The moon is the 6th house lord, and since we are talking about from the natal chart, from the moon, from the Chandra Lagna, transit moon is co-joined with transit Rahu. Fine. So whatever is going to happen is uncertain. Nobody knows what is going to happen, but it is very uncertain there just because of that moon. And the next thing is where is transit Venus residing? Transit Venus on that day, 3rd November, will be in Virgo. Virgo is the 8th house from natal moon, the Dagdasthanamu. So since it is in the 8th house and Venus is residing over there, it co-joined with natal Saturn, and the natal Saturn co-joining with transit Venus in the 8th house from natal moon is not a good sign. And then the comes is what can happen, because Venus is the from natal moon, Venus is the 4th house lord and the 9th house lord. Let me tell you one more time. The Venus is the 4th house lord and the 9th house lord. In 4th house we have Rahu, we have natal transit moon there. The 9th house lord Venus is now in the 8th house. 8th house generally talks about secret affairs or secret dealings, something like that, secret. And the 9th house lord is in the 8th house, indicates that that secret dealing, secret affairs directly relates to laws of the country, or the court judgments of the country, or some sort of a trading issues with the country. There might be some secret dealings over there. And now it has co-joined with Saturn. So whatever happens is a malefic one. The next one is next two fast moving transit planets are Sun and Mercury. Sun and Mercury are both in Libra, where Sun is in Nicha or debilitated. So when you look at it on November 3rd, transit Saturn's 10th aspect. Transit Saturn's 10th aspect is on Libra. So that means transit Saturn is now looking at transit Sun. Sun is the leader of the country, and the Sun got Nicha or debilitated. And transit Saturn is looking at the 8th house lord Mercury also. Transit Mercury. So now transit Saturn is looking at transit Sun and transit Mercury, and we know that transit Jupiter is already looking at transit Sun, natal Sun over there, and transit Saturn is also looking at natal Mercury on a direct aspect. So the Mercury and Sun having such a strong bondage with transit Saturn is not a good sign. so the elections, what type of results will be done is not something that is like just like this. You can know who is going to win the elections. It's not that, it's not a piece of cake anymore on this day based on these transit planets. And since it is Rahu plus Jupiter, so the results of the country's presidential elections solely depends on the law and on the ninth house Lord Venus having co-joined with the Saturn in the eighth house. So there might be a repetition of something like it happened somewhere in 2001 or 2000 when George W. Bush became the president, and the courts have when there was some election issues in Florida and against George W. Bush and Al Gore, and finally the courts had decided that George W. Bush won the election. Remember those days? Those who are in US will during that time will be knowing it very easily. They can recollect it very quickly. So it is those type of, just like the laws and the courts got involved in the presidential elections to come up with a decision or to tell who is the winner. Something similar will happen, might happen, not will happen. There's a high possibility for it to happen this November, and unfortunately, since Venus, who owns the law and the courts, has co-joined with a malefic Saturn planet and is residing in a Dagdasthanamo 8th house, there will be some sort of a secret dealings or secret negotiations that before a decision has been made. So, and Sun is Nicha. Remember, always keep in mind, Sun is Nicha. So and Mercury is also in the ninth house. The Mercury is the eighth house lord. So things, whatever is going to happen on that day at that time, is not going to be something like I said earlier, because of the Rahu Mahadasa, and Rahu is in the fourth house, transit Rahu in the fourth house co-joined with Moon, and natal Rahu is in the sixth house having a direct aspect on transit Saturn and co-joined with the eighth house Lord natal Mercury. Whatever happens is not something that is natural, it's completely exceptional, and what people have never thought will happen, or never or most of the people who don't agree with it, is going to happen. Let me end this video presentation with the takeaway points. I have spent so much time in explaining in detail the different astrological combinations, their impact, and the transit planets' impact on the country. Let me end the presentation with some takeaway points. The first and the foremost takeaway point here is, for the country United States, the core revenue is only through two major planets. One is Jupiter. Jupiter deals with academics and research, and the second is Mercury. Mercury deals with exports of large goods. This is clearly visible for everyone, whoever has seen how the country's revenues are being earned. This is clearly visible. The second thing is, according to Vimsottari Mahadasa, Vimsottari Dasa system, Rahu Mahadasa started for the third time in July 2016. So anytime Rahu Mahadasa starts, what usually happens for Rahu during the Rahu Mahadasa, whether it is for the country or for a native, is that there are a lot of unexpected things. Rahu will make it happen, and Rahu shows that I can do what you couldn't ever expect to happen. So that is, it's always surprises. That's the reason why in one of my presentation, when Rahu was in the sixth house for the country, sixth house deals with the diseases and public health. I mentioned that there will be some sort of a diseases that are unknown to the people, or disease is known but nobody knows how to cure the disease. That's exactly the same way in the Mahadasa also. Rahu will be doing something that nobody has expected. For example, after July 2016, the first presidential election happened was in November 2016, and no one expected that a businessman with no political background will become the president of this country. And it was a big shock to the whole country. Even the political pundits, nobody expected that to happen, and it happened. So these type of shocks is what Rahu gives during his Mahadasa. The next thing is, since natal Rahu is in the house, where is the natal Rahu? Rahu decides how the country is to be ruled. And if you look at the natal Rahu from Rashi Lagna is in the 9th house. 9th house deals with law and order, law and courts, or the Dharmasthanamo. And usually Rahu is the one who decides how the courts has to behave, what type of judgments will the court give, and what type of laws needs to be passed in the country. Since 2016, when the Rahu Mahadasa started, people who are residing in United States or who are monitoring the laws that have been passed in the country or the judgments that the court has given, is most of them, I won't say all of them, most of them are so surprising that nobody has expected such type of things to happen. Just like the presidential election, the laws in the country have been, new laws have been come up, or the old that has shocked the people, or the old laws were being closed, and which has shocked the people too. In the same way as the court decisions. And now it comes in November 2020, according to Vimsottari Dasa system, it will be Rahu Mahadasa and Jupiter Antardasa. So we have to see is where is natal Jupiter. Natal Jupiter is in the 8th house from Rashi Lagna and the 5th house from Chandra Lagna. But since it is the natal Jupiter, we have to look from the Rashi Lagna, which is Rashi Lagna tells you the destiny. Then we have to go back and see like where is transit Jupiter at the time of elections. The elections is in November 2020. Transit Jupiter will be in the 11th house at the time of elections. While the elections are going on, it will be in the 11th house, and from natal moon, and from 11th house, the natal moon, transit Jupiter is having a direct aspect on natal Jupiter, natal Sun, natal Mars, and natal Venus. And transit Rahu will be in the 4th house. So this is the takeaway point at this point. So now that I had given you the whole astrological definitions and explanations, let me tell you in simple English, what does that mean to the country and the people residing in the country. The conclusions. First and the foremost is the results might get delayed. The results, in the sense the election results, might get delayed. And there is a high possibility that even the result that got delayed might be decided either in the court or based upon some laws and interpreting some of the laws, and then a decision has been made by interpretation of those laws, and whatever it is going to create a big shock, just like 2016 November. Again in 2020 November, these election results will give a big shock to the whole country, and not just the country, even though I will not be surprised if it shocks the whole world. And the last conclusion that I am trying to tell here is there is an extremely high possibility for the repetition of the election that happened in the year 2000, where the courts had come into picture and declared who will be the president of the country. I hope I try to explain to the best I can, at least in these takeaway points in simple English. And let me what I'm going to do in the next presentation. There are 2 more presentations to go. In the next presentation, part 2, I'm going to go backwards and see during the Rahu Mahadasa, when in the first Vimsottari Dasa cycle, Rahu Mahadasa happened from 1896 till 1940. Sorry, the second one. The first one happened from 1776 to 1796, and the second one happened from 1896 to 1914. Exactly after 100 years, Rahu Mahadasa came. So during these two, the first Rahu Mahadasa there were 2 elections. In the second Rahu Mahadasa, if I remember correctly, there are 4 elections. So I'm trying to analyze that during the Rahu Mahadasa on these elections day, how did the election results come up? Did the election results surprise the people during that time or not? Once we analyze the data that is available and understand how Rahu Mahadasa and the transit Rahu are having an impact on the election results, in part 3 I'm going to predict, I'm going to say like who could be the possible candidate, who can be the president of, who can get elected or selected, I should say it as elected as 20% and selected as 80% in November 2020. Thank you for watching this video.